right, good morning. Today is Tuesday, February 13th, and I will call this meeting of the Legislative and Human Resource Committee to order. Just a note, a change on our agenda. We will not be looking at the Ready by 5. That was originally on number 4 of our agenda. That has been removed from our agenda. First item then on our agenda is public comment. If there's anyone that would be wanting to address the committee, please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes.
How you doing? Sorry, I spoke too soon, they say. How you doing, everyone? I'm D. Jones. I'd like to dedicate this speech to my friends in the hood. I got a note. I'm gonna have to take my glasses off. I got a note from the Chief Impact Officer at Forbes. I'm gonna make sure I get this to the person so every single person at Kent County Board gets this. D, thanks for making the connection. I am interested in the work you are doing and really appreciate the insights you are sharing. Looking forward to following your journey and crossing paths as you continue to make an impact in the world. With gratitude, Seth Cohen, Chief Impact Officer, Forbes. So this is the second worst city economic development in America. And I just grind it every day, just being genuinely D. Jones, hustling, being as passionate and putting all of the, say, universal energies and all of the compassionate love and genuineness and just wanting to see the community change. And next thing you know, the Chief Impact Officer of Forbes connects to D. Jones and, you know, hits him up. And you guys are going to get this. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. I don't even have to explain it. My work speaks for itself. And you guys are all going to get this. I'm going to be sure that you guys all get a copy of this so you guys see what it actually looks like to have the best genuine intentions for equitable, fair, and just business for everyone, regardless of ethnicity. This is Forbes right here. This starts with D. This starts with D. Who am I? I'm D. Jones. Nobody can deny this. Nobody of color, nobody from the government, nobody at no level of government can deny this. You guys are going to get this. I ask that you guys, bipartisanly do what's best for Kent County. You guys are going to get this. I want the best for everyone across every single district across Kent County, for our state, for our nation, for the United Nations, for the globe, internationally. I want the best for everyone. Last night I set up a call with somebody in India that wants me to help them build esports labs in India. And I'm going to do it fair and just and equitable and be sure that they get the best of the best resources, just like I did for Kent County. So I'm just going to stand here because you guys are going to get this. You guys are going to get this. There's no denying this. I don't care who anybody is in here. You guys are going to get this. You guys know this is the second worst place for an African American to live. This is 2024. I ain't joking around with nobody in here. This is not a game. You guys know the economy is jacked up and we're going to change this. I'm going to change it. And we're going to work together to do this.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the LHR committee?
Good morning. My name is Deb Van Dynen. I live at 6949 Pinehurst Lane in Rockford. I'm a member of Together West Michigan and a child care voter. We are aware this morning that you've moved that from the agenda, but we'd still like to share our thoughts and hope that you will consider them until it comes up on the agenda again. I was a working mom, and even though that was a while ago, I still know firsthand the value of quality child care. I remember the frustration and the panic that I often felt when that child care wasn't available. Now I'm retired and I'm able to provide child care for my grandkids on a backup basis, and I'm thankful that I'm able to do that. But before that could happen, my daughter and her husband had no choice but to hire a provider that they found by word of mouth. This was a complete stranger to them, someone who was not licensed, didn't have to follow any regulations or guidelines, and it caused a lot of discomfort and stress and anxiety. It turned out okay, but still, it was a rocky road. I know that a lot of parents are faced with similar kinds of stresses today. They don't have the support of grandparents who can back them up. Maybe they can't find a provider, or the cost of childcare far outweighs any kind of benefit they would get from earning a living wage. Because of these stresses, many of them opt out of the workforce. And that adds to another problem that we have, and that's the shortage in our labor force. A healthy child care system provides support for parents who want to work and need to work. It provides a support for a healthy workforce and a vibrant community. Kent County Commissioners, you led the way by passing the Ready by 5 millage. I would urge you today to lead the way again, not just to renew it, but to expand it, put it on the ballot, and let the voters decide. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to address the committee? Please state your name and address. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Deb Kammer. I live at 4776 Paramount Drive, Plainfield Township. I also, 39 years ago, worked for all of you. I was a county employee. I also had the struggles of finding childcare. I had to hire a stranger because I couldn't find anyone in my area so I could go back to work. I work in the family court system. I was part of CASA that you all blessed when we brought in the CASA program. I've been advocating with this program in families for over 30 years and in the child welfare for 45 years. I see families struggle to get their kids back, and then I see them struggle again because once they get them back, they have jobs, so now they have to choose between staying home with their kids because they can't get daycare and going back on welfare, or staying with their job and trying to find daycare. And we struggle all the time helping our families do that, which costs, again, people complain about our kids going on welfare. Well, guess what? Sometimes we force them back into it because we don't provide them for the 0 to 5. I have fought my whole life for children and working with teens. But my biggest strength is our citizens are developed between the ages of 0 to 5. And what happens to them and who cares for them is very significant. This county has supported many programs in the years that I have seen. I ask you again to please help us support childcare. We need that money. We need the help for kids. We need that more than we need buildings than anything else. And that is our future. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else? Again, please state your name and address for the committee, and no more than 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dofante Yote, and my address is 6881 Cutsill Drive in Rockford, Michigan. I am a first-generation immigrant from Nigeria. Having arrived in the United States under political asylum, I'm a testament to the opportunities this great nation offers to those seeking refuge in a better life. As a graduate of Rockford High School and a student pursuing child development, I'm acutely aware of the challenges and the frustrations that accompany the pursuit of dreams and the importance of childcare resources for parents. I'd like to say I turned out just fine, but I can't help but wonder how life would have been if my parents had the resources to help me with my developmental needs. My own journey has been uniquely challenging. I've lived many lifetimes. Not learning of my own educational disabilities until college, my parents were often too tired to help me with my schoolwork, or they couldn't pay for privileged extracurricular activities. As a child, I attested this to being an immigrant, and I moved on. However, when I began my field work at Isabella County Restoration House, which is a homeless shelter in Mount Pleasant, I became aware of that adversities are not exclusive to my experience. Many of the guests at the shelter found themselves in dire circumstances due to the lack of support like childcare during emergencies and crises. The recent public health crisis of COVID-19 has further underscored the urgent need for safe and developmental spaces for our youth. I personally worked as an underpaid nanny to 4 sets of co-working parents who struggled to keep their families together and offset the expenses of economic shutdowns. I'm not sure how many people in this room have had the humbling experience of being fully in charge of 7 kids ages 2 to 10 with different cultural and educational backgrounds, but I'll assure you it's tough to manage as an experienced caretaker. Almost impossible to give proper guidance and support to each child. The shift to virtual learning with its infamous Zoom call kindergartens served as a humorous yet poignant reminder of the importance of physical learning environments and proper resources when it comes to education and socio-emotional development. It's imperative that we prioritize early childhood development through the Early Childhood Millage. By investing in accessible and supportive resources, we can ensure that every child has the opportunity to thrive regardless of their background and their circumstances. This extends to more financial incentives for child care workers, affordable child care, family life education, along with the physical resources like car seats. I'm blessed to have made it to 25, but it's a shame that I'm not just now learning of family resources offered by organizations like Arbor Circle and Family Futures. The hope here is that we continue to build a brighter future for our youth in our community. As a nation, we pledge to not leave any children behind, but I think we failed to see that being left behind is a much greater spectrum than we anticipated, and we must course correct by reallocating funds to build a stable foundation for everyone around us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to address the committee?
Good morning. My name is Karsten Voskel, and I live in Holland, though I pastor a church called Bethlehem Lutheran Church, which is located in 250 Commerce Southwest, tucked in behind Mel Trotter and Dégagé and the rest of some wonderful work and services. Heartside is home, though our members come throughout Kent County and Greater Grand Rapids. We not only celebrate our 150th birthday as a church, but also our 50th anniversary of having a child development center. Providing loving, formational space for young children to fully flourish is a huge part of our ministry. Not too long ago, we added an adult day center to this vision of formation so as to provide truly intergenerational care, which is also a huge need in our community. As of today, we have 16 paid staff along with some amazing volunteers to help resource this ministry. As a congregation, we believe in the importance of helping all people flourish, and we're doing our best to allocate our limited resources to this effort. And yet, we are struggling. The financial realities of early childhood, as you've just heard, is a mess. We've recently added to our loan so as to remodel one of our rooms to turn it into a second infant toddler room for about $35,000. The need for more infant toddler rooms in our community is that important. And still, we cannot find and hire enough teachers to open this room. That second infant toddler room remains empty this morning, even though we are so hungry to meet this need. We know more families need to drop their young children off to a place that's safe and empowering of that care. This includes future nurses at Corewell, teachers at GRPS, social workers at Network 180, police officers here in our community doing their best. Like these essential workers, our teachers and staff do amazing work though the economics of resourcing this work are a struggle. We cannot do this work alone. We need help. As you've heard, the post-pandemic landscape remains bleak. Like others, PPP grants and other financial support from the state allowed us to support our families and to serve our wonderful employees, which also acted as an economic engine to support the wider community when it was most needed. That said, we aren't just an economic engine, but also a core societal good in providing loving support to our children and adults in a world that is so turbulent. We believe in this work, but we need your help. As the saying goes, it takes a village to raise our children. We need this wider village right now, which certainly includes financial support from a local level. As we talk about soccer fields and amphitheaters and other economic engines for this community, we cannot neglect something as vital and as basic as childcare. We already have the means to provide wider support through the millage. We need your help, not just us, others do as well. This is a critical moment where families, jobs, and wider community growth are all interwoven into a shared future. It really does take a village.
All right, thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to be heard? Again, please state your name and address for the committee.
I'm Wendy Wenner. I live at 1110 Oakley Road Northwest in Grand Rapids. I'm a member of Together West Michigan and also St. Mark's Church. And I'm retired Dean of the Brooks College of Interdisciplinary Studies at GVSU. I strongly support the work of First Steps Kent and all the other organizations that all that other organizations have done and will do to help families and children get ready for kindergarten when the child care millage passes. But the renewal of the original millage without the expansion to 4.5 does not address the problems that we usually think about when we think about childcare. It does not address the needs of the 20,500 families and children in Kent County who need and cannot get actual childcare. That number is from your own report. We all know that denying our children early child education they need to get a good start will have a serious effect on them and their families and the economic growth of their community. If we don't do something in the 6 years that we use the millage that we have at a low rate, it'll be too late for these children who may come to high school reading at a level of first to third grade, which I used to be a reading consultant, and I had to coach these children and try to help them get through high school because they missed what we are denying them at the moment. As far as I know, this county doesn't have plans to solve this problem. Together West Michigan sees that an increase in the millage to 0.45 is our best chance right now to invest in improving childcare and the chance for these children to be successful. We're 39th per capita in income, as we talked before. And if you look at our website, we're more willing to pay for the zoo and the prison than we are for children, which is surprising and heartbreaking. Together, West Michigan supports the millage and in 4 ways, for 4 things that we think they could do. We could do if we had the money for the millage. One is begin investment in early childhood education talent pipeline to build the workforce. As you just heard, that's one of our biggest problems. 2, to provide more help to families and children, child care providers in navigating the financial system so that we may use more of the state money than we do, that we currently leave on the table now. And we need to work more with all types of providers to improve quality care. All these things you've just heard about. There's ways to fix this. There really are. And invest now in innovative initiatives that would begin to
Great.
increase the
Thank you so much.
opportunities
I appreciate your time. If
for
there's
child
anyone else that would
care
like to,
for- in
I'm
our
sorry, ma'am.
county. That's all. I got it.
All right. Please state your name and address for the committee, please.
Hello, my name is Esbar Razi, and I live in Granville, 4415 Heritage Court, apartment 12, if you can find me there. So I want to talk about this child care. Plans are in work to bring a proposal to voters for a lodging tax for Kent County that will put an estimate $24 million a year and specifically into downtown facility and tourism and related activities. And at the same time, the voters are being told that they will not be allowed to decide whether or not to increase the Ready by 5 millage this year to support early child care and education. Why? Why can the voters not decide that? Who gives you guys that right to tell us that we cannot decide that? Despite all the polling that is showed over 75 support for Ready by 5 increase. This makes no sense. Why can we not do both? Why would we not do both? Expand early child care education for families and facilities for them to go into their free time. When it comes to, when it was passed in 2018, the county only approved the Ready by 5 millage at half the request amount. Now that it is up for renewal at half, the original request, the proposal, was being put forward to expand that to the funding and to the originally requested amount, with an additional funding being used to support our struggling child care. Child care is one of the greatest concern both for local residents and business owners. It is most important because all of you here have children, and you know you need to put those children in some place where we can trust someone to take care of them. And you guys are right here doing a business. Now we're asking the same thing with this. We're not saying no to build this soccer stadium and all this. But what we're saying is include this Include the child care into it. This is about humans. These are kids. This could be your kid. You could be standing right here advocating for your child. Do something right. It's important. The amphitheater and soccer stadium are taunted as a great job creators. But if we do not have enough childcare for current workers, how could we possibly care for the children of hotel workers, restaurant workers, new facility workers, and other service staff jobs that we'll have to fill? How? I want you guys to think about that when you go into a meeting.
All right, thank you so much. Again, please state your name and address for the board, and you have up to 3 minutes.
I'm Melissa Anderson. I live at 1581 Laraway Lake Drive in District 21, and I'm here with Together West Michigan. Downtown improvements and tourism combined with an expanded Ready by 5 millage could be an incredible benefit to our community. But why would parents facing an enormous child care crisis be excited to vote on funds for the downtown if the commission refuses to let us expand support for child care? We can do both. We should be given the opportunity to do both. If the county issues bonds to pay for construction of new downtown facilities, as they did with DeVos Place, Kent County taxpayers will also be responsible to foot the bill, paying back those bonds when lodging taxes don't cover the expense. The Grand Rapids Press reported in July of 2021 that this had happened 10 times in 14 years to the tune of $10 million. Parents and families don't get that kind of bailout when their child care bill costs more than their mortgage, as many of our families have expressed, or when they have to quit their jobs because they've been on wait lists for months and years with no child care openings in sight. Will all these parents be able to drop their children off at a soccer stadium, an amphitheater, an aquarium when they go to work if we are not permitted to do something about child care? This year, Together West Michigan will engage 7,500 voters across our county around issues important to our members, including child care. Together West Michigan is not against more and better downtown amenities, and we cannot, in good conscience, support funding that will only be put into downtown amenities and tourism without corresponding support for child care. Let us do both. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is anyone else that'd like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will close the public comment section of our meeting. Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion and support to approve last meeting's minutes? Motion by LeGrand, supported by DeBoer. Any comments or questions? Seeing no one, everyone that'd like to approve last meeting minutes, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed? All right, the first, our next item on our agenda is brought to us by the Equalization Department from a performance measurement review. Megan.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm Megan Van Hoos, Director of Equalization here at Kent County. I've been in assessment administration for about 8 years, and I have been here at the county for the last 6 months, and I came here from Gaines Charter Township prior to this role. I'm here this morning to present the performance measures for 2023. So property taxes are clearly something that everyone mostly loves to hate, but as you know, property taxes are the main local source of revenue for all local governments, school districts, and special districts. It's our job in equalization to ensure that real and personal property within the county's respective townships, cities, and villages have been equally and uniformly assessed at 50% of true cash or market value, and to ensure that the property tax burden is uniformly spread across the county. We have 14 people in our department. A few of them are here with me today. Myself, I'm the director. I have Brenda and Phil who are sitting behind me. They are the deputy directors. Julie O'Dwyer is our equalization assistant. We have 3 people in customer service, 4 in the appraisal division, and 3 in property description and mapping. So today this presentation is going to demonstrate our alignment with the board priorities and goals under the board's strategic plan. I will discuss the Equalization Department's strategic goals, review our performance, highlight a few significant accomplishments, and give you a look at where we're going in 2024. All of our goals are tied in with Kent County's priority of economic prosperity as identified in your strategic plan. So on to our department strategic goals. Each of our performance metrics are tied to our department strategic goals, which are to annually project property values and study the level of assessment to current market value through appraisal and sales studies and apply equalization factors as necessary to comply with law. We preserve the public survey monuments for public use and preservation of the public land survey system through the remonumentation program. We provide professional tax mapping services so that all land in the county subjected to property tax is not subjected to double taxation. And finally, we provide expertise and customer service to all local governments, taxpayers, and industry professionals such as realtors, surveyors, bankers, title agencies. We provide service to over 5,000 individuals annually in our department. So getting into the performance metrics, hopefully they're big enough for you to see. As previously stated, one of our strategic goals and statutory duties is to annually project the level of assessment by property class for each governmental unit. So we have 30 governmental units in the county, 21 townships and 9 cities. And within those units, some have all of the property classes and some do not. So we have agricultural, residential, industrial, developmental, and commercial for real property. And then we also have commercial personal, industrial personal, and utility personal. So the number sometimes fluctuates between 137 and 138 classes, and that just depends on if a governmental unit decides to pick up or drop a class like developmental or agricultural based on the current use of the property. Our goal is to appraise all 137 or 138 classes, and of course we've done that as our statutory duty. Another thing that we do under this goal is we audit assessment rolls for all of the local unit assessors. Everyone sends their rolls in prior to sending out assessment change notices and prior to their March Board of Review. We do this as a courtesy, a second set of eyes for the assessors, but we also do it statutorily to check for any changes to assessed and taxable value that are going to have an effect on the Headley or millage reduction fractions calculations. There we go. So our second metric goes along with the previous one, is annually projecting property values and studying the level of assessment. The goal here is to conduct on-site appraisals and interview parties involved in every single sales transaction for commercial and industrial properties. You can see here that we had 512 sales in 2023, and we appraised every single one of them. The goal line is always kind of, I mean, it looks like it's creeping up there a little bit. You can't predict how many sales there's going to be, so we kind of put out an average, an idea based on the market, and the goal is just to hit 100%. In line again with the last two metrics, this one is to conduct on-site real property appraisals for at least 1,900 properties within the agricultural, commercial, and industrial classes. We have 4 full-time appraisers doing this work in our department. Also, the 2 deputy directors take on small units. And the top chart shows the quantity of appraisals done per appraiser throughout the year. And then at the bottom chart, you can see the total number of appraisals that were completed. That target number is set based on a percentage of properties, and we just routinely exceed that number just to allow for better statistical analysis and more flexibility in using that data. Our second strategic goal, which was to preserve the public survey monuments and repair or reestablish 100% of survey monuments reported as damaged or destroyed. This is done through the remonumentation program in partnership with the City of Grand Rapids and Kent County's remonumentation peer review group. The goal in 2023 was to repair 161 monuments, and they repaired 167 with a total grant amount of $171,000. Our third strategic goal is to provide professional tax mapping services so that all property in the county is taxed once and not subject to double taxation. There's several aspects to this goal. Our property description and mapping team is responsible for land divisions, combinations, boundary line adjustments, description corrections, and you can, sorry about that. You can see here on the right side of the chart that we average over 6,000 description changes per year. And on the left side, you can see that the goal is to do that within 30 days of the request. We have an incredibly skilled property description and mapping team. They routinely meet or exceed that 30-day goal and put out a lot of work every year. In addition to the property boundaries, the PDM staff also maintains an inventory of county-owned property. We inspect, keep records on, and report on farmland preservation projects, tracking the type of crop, yield of crop, per acre, and where the crops are going. We also have a contract with the City of Grand Rapids to provide land division services. Now, as part of our fourth strategic goal to provide expertise in customer service, we provide deed certification, analysis, and terms of sales for properties for equalization studies. Our customer service staff processes every real property deed that comes through the Register of Deeds office. We implemented a deed import system in 2023, which has significantly improved that process, made it much more efficient. And again, this is one of those goals where we're just kind of taking a stab at where we think sales are going to be over the years. It's kind of an average line that's up there. You can see in 2023 there was a significant decrease in the number of real property transactions that took place. We processed every single one of them 100%, but I mean, it was roughly $7,000 or 7,000 transactions fewer than the year before. And I mostly attribute that to that rising interest rates, some of the market fatigue from the COVID housing market where we were seeing a lot of transactions, as you can see in 2021. And again, I'll point out that that staff serves over 5,000 customers per year. In addition to that, they prepare the residential sales study analysis for local units. They assist the appraisers and the property description and mapping team with technical aspects of their jobs. On to significant accomplishments. So you all know that the prior director retired last year, leaving our department without a director for about 3 months. Fortunately, we have excellent deputy directors that were able to lead our department during that time. And then I came in August and was here for the last quarter of the year. During that time, you recall we had a tornado in August, which was a significant weather event that required our staff to get out in the field. Scott Corbin and Matt Grosser did an excellent job coordinating that effort, and so did Brenda and Philip. They were out there handling that with very little experience in the matter and without a director on board. Did a fantastic job taking care of that. Also, we were able to successfully execute a data sharing agreement with Housing Next. Hopefully, most of you have heard of Housing Next. This is to assist in the analysis of housing growth and economic stability with specific focus on developing key corridors and their adjacent neighborhoods. 17 of our local units agreed to participate in this. So what they had asked for was a lot of our data. And in order to share that data, we prefer to get permission from our local units since they're the ones collecting the data. So we only had 17 units participate, but we think that that's a good start. And we're hopeful that this collaboration and partnership is going to serve the county well in giving us some good information. This year we had 3 individuals on staff earn certifications. I take this very seriously. I think it's very important that we are improving our education and working on professional development. Julia O'Dwyer in our office earned her level 1 assessing license, as well as Patricia Stone. Neither of these staff are directly involved in assessment administration, but it's the goal here is so that they can better serve our assessors and better understand their role in the property tax system. And then we had Josh Bowman. He earned his level 3 license. He is an appraiser on staff. So now all 4 of our appraisers have a level 3 license, which is typically the highest level license that an appraiser would attain. We continue to support education by sponsoring International Association of Assessing Officer classes through the Kent County Assessors Association. I'm going to abbreviate those to IAAO and KCAAO. This collaboration and sponsorship is something that Matt Wolford and I worked on back in 2019 when I was at Gaines Township and he was the director here. This collaboration has continued to benefit our county staff, our assessors in Kent County, as well as assessors in other parts of the state and the country. Last year, we had 5 equalization staff and 6 Kent County assessors attend one of the courses that were offered, and 36 additional students from other counties and states in the country. This fall, we implemented a storyboarding event from the Disney Way training. This was an idea from Phil and Brenda. I hadn't attended the Disney Way training yet, so I was really intrigued by this. We turned this into an informative and team-building event, and we plan to do this probably annually. We're going to use this information that we collected to improve our departmental practices. Before I arrived on scene, the department implemented the use of a Nextcloud file hosting to improve the file sharing ability with our local units. We send a lot of data back and forth, databases that take up a lot of space and require a really user-friendly and secure system. So that was a big win for us. And lastly, I'm just going to point out a couple of recognitions and our contribution to our industry within our department. Philip, one of the deputy directors, is the chairperson of the Michigan Assessors Association Data Standards Committee and a member of the State Tax Commission Standards Committee. He earned an award this year from the Michigan Assessors Association for his significant contributions to state-adopted professional standards. This is incredibly important as it provides for consistency between local units and between counties within the state, which reduces confusion and greatly improves our data analytic ability. Phil and I are both executive members of our local association, the Kent County Assessors Association. I am a committee member on the IAAO Professional Development Committee, and Brenda is a member of the Kent County Cultural Intelligence Committee and also recently became a health ambassador. Looking ahead, so with new leadership and equalization for the first time in 16 years, we are just kind of finding our way and forging a new path. We're excited to dive into our processes and invest in our staff. We have several retirements coming in the next few years. And with that, now is a good time for us to look at the way we're doing things, why we're doing them, and how we can do them in the future to better serve our community. Some of the projects that we're working on include incorporating the feedback that we receive from our storyboarding event into our strategic planning. We're creating a set of department-specific policies and procedures to standardize our processes and provide more resources for staff. We are working to increase our participation and professional associations for all of our staff. And lastly, we're working to modernize the format of our equalization and apportionment reports, which you all have the benefit of reviewing annually. So thank you for having me. I'd like to point out that all the work that I highlighted this morning is the result of a very highly skilled, highly competent, and very hardworking staff that understand their importance and their role in the property tax system, and they understand the integrity of that system. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Megan. Excellent job, within your time limit, perfect, nice job.
Yep.
Commissioner DeVore.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Megan. So do you guys do the tax assessments for all ag, industrial, and commercial in Kent County, or just for those 30?
So we don't do the assessments, we do the appraisals. So
Okay.
the local units are responsible for the assessments for those properties.
So do you guys do any of the assessments, or just?
We do not,
Okay.
nope. We do the appraisal studies, which help set the level to which the assessments need to be brought to in order to be within 50% of market value.
Okay. And suppose there's a situation where someone is disgruntled with their local assessor. Is there any, aside from the appeal process, is there any, like, service that you guys provide for any of that? Can they get an appraisal from you guys and then try to show it to their local assessor, or?
So we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't want to undermine the local assessor. We would step in and play a role with just kind of a mediator in a sense, right? I would speak to a taxpayer, I'll also speak to the assessor. The taxpayer has the ability to appeal to the state. They can,
Sure.
of course, report their assessor, and they can always appeal their tax assessment. So their best course of action, speak to their assessor, and then after that, they can appeal to the March Board of Review, and if they're not happy there, they can appeal to the tax tribunal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great, Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Director. It was a great presentation and timely as well. I had a question, and I'm hoping that I'll be clear and that you'll be able to give me a bit more context. I was just reading this post from social media post from State Representative Christian Grant that she made yesterday. And she said, "I was just having a conversation with someone quoting statistics that I just learned about Michigan's horrible property tax policies. Basically, Michigan is number 2 in the country when it comes to regressivity, meaning we are the worst in the country when it comes to charging our poorest individuals and our individuals of color the highest property taxes while we tax the wealthy at very low rates." So I suppose my question is what your thoughts are on that. Do you think that there are reforms that could be made at the state level that would have a direct impact on the county operations as far as making sure that we're funding our our county, but also making sure that we're being more equitable with the taxes that property owners pay.
That's a dangerous topic to step into. I think that some of the reform options are a little dangerous. They're kind of putting them into a box, right? I think that the statistics, the regressivity, don't always accurately illustrate what's happening. I do believe that there are problems in some areas, and where that mostly has come out of is born out of the Detroit area in past. And I do know that there are improvements being made. There has been reform. They did implement an audit program for local assessors. We're in our second or third round of that, so we get audited, or well, we don't. We get audited annually in the equalization department, but the assessing jurisdictions get audited every 5 years, and there are metrics that they have to meet. Regressivity is part of that. They have to be within certain coefficients of dispersion. We have to have appropriate land tables. They do a lot of checking. Every audit has a different set of metrics that have to be reviewed. So there are things in the works to improve and standardize assessing across the state. I think that's our biggest problem, is that it's different everywhere you go. So that's kind of how county equalization addresses at the county level, making sure that our local townships are doing things the same, and that you don't step across the township line and have a completely different set of rules or circumstances, right?
Mm-hmm. And I saw that they're trying to, I think even at this point, still trying to pass kind of taxing reform in the city of Detroit. Like, I think it's called a land value tax.
Yeah.
Which, to my understanding, would basically lower taxes for homeowners, but increase taxes on pieces of land that are not being developed, essentially, or that are just full of crumbling buildings. Is that something, because I know they mentioned Detroit, is that something that you think would be best to stay in Detroit, or is that something that you think would work in Kent County?
I'm not sure I can speak to that. Yeah. I think it's an imperfect system. I think there's probably a lot of good ideas out there. It just seems like they all kind of get lost in legislation, right?
Right. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Pacala.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Megan, for being here. You had a great slide on the next steps and things that are upcoming this year. I'm wondering, on the flip side, sort of, what are some of the threats that are on the horizon that you all are paying attention to as it relates to your operations or the way that you're engaging with local units of government?
Good question.
It's okay if there are none. That would be a great thing.
I don't know that I have any for you. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah.
Commissioner LeGrand.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a quick question about the repairs to monuments. And I'm wondering, how do these come to your attention? By the way, I have to say, I a little bit miss getting our show and tell monuments. Feel free to bring a monument next year, one of the weird ones.
So I'm not a GIS professional, so I know Matt loved remonumentation.
Yes.
That is not my wheelhouse. Most of my information about remonumentation I've gained in the last several months, so I will in no way pretend to be an expert on that topic. The monuments are identified by I believe by the peer review group and by the surveyor John Wiles, who comes out of the city of Grand Rapids.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. Great presentation. Your department, probably one of the most underappreciated departments in the county.
Right.
I'm glad to hear that you have a very strong emphasis on continuing education and certification of those involved here at the county. I think that's really important, that we, keep everyone up to speed on what's happening in this industry and make sure that everyone has the greatest opportunity to represent the county with, increased knowledge. I really like the maps that you provide. I use them all the time, and I have friends that use them all the time. Very, very useful, so thank you very much for providing that tool online and making it accessible to all county residents. It is a very, very user-friendly tool also. And speaking of monuments, I believe we had a presentation last year where someone from your department came, and they actually brought in some historical monuments that we looked at. And I think you know, it's important that, you know, we continue to, you know, monitor and update and continue the maintenance of those monuments. I am somewhat of a civil engineer myself and understand the importance of having those tools for, you know, surveying purposes and identifying, you know, property boundaries. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, any other commissioners? All right, Megan, thank you very
Thank you.
much, really appreciate it. All right, next item on our agenda is an action request brought to us by the Human Resource Department. It's a labor agreement for the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council. Can I have a motion and support, please? Motion by Bujak, supported by Pakla. All right, we do have Amy in our audience today. If you have any questions, very similar agreements to what we've seen here. Some increases in life insurance, kind of getting up to date with what salaries and inflation has done, and some other goodies in there as well. Does any commissioners, Commissioner Pakla?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just curious, I'd highlighted the bullet point on the structure of the pay scale for patrol deputy position will be amended to enhance recruitment and retention in the highly competitive market. I know we've heard a lot about this from the sheriff. Wondering if you have a few additional details on that piece.
Sure. Yeah, this is probably one of the most difficult positions in the county to recruit and retain talent for. So we really wanted to make sure we were competitive with market. Also, there's an internal equity element to that as well, because the corrections officer, which is a close parallel in a lot of regards in terms of the focus of that job on security internal to the jail and safety, that tops out at a similar level, 10 and a half years of service rather than 12 and a half. So we were shooting for exactly 10 and a half, but the negotiations process resulted in a little bit of a difference between those two jobs.
All right, Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. We're talking about a labor agreement, and that implies that there have been parties that have been meeting to go over the details of that labor agreement. Who, it says Fraternal Order of Police. Is it you at the county, and you have a team that meets to do this on our behalf? And how, can you speak to the process?
Sure. Yeah, I would say for unions that involve elected offices, it's what I would call a three-party negotiation. So the sheriff and the sheriff's executive staff represent the kind of the needs of the sheriff's office. The union, which usually involves a committee of people who represent the union employees, the union president, and also a person who works for the union organization. Represent the interests of the union. And then there's a team on the county side that includes several people in HR, county administration, legal, and finance.
So all this work is going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Before it becomes a piece of resolution that comes before us.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that you do all that for us, because I don't know how long and how difficult those negotiations are, but I don't have to deal with any of that. It's pretty straightforward by the time it comes to here as commissioner, that what is being asked, and I think what is being asked is fair, and I am supportive of it.
Thanks. Yeah, the work of lots and lots of people and lots of meetings. So particularly, I wanted to acknowledge the work of the sheriff and the union in this regard for going above and beyond and providing education to the employees in this union to really help them to understand the value of the contract.
And to Commissioner Bujak, one other item too is that this does go through executive committee as well. So executive committee will also see these items before it gets to full board as well. But yeah, it's a great team. You know, I really appreciate our employees that in times of good times and bad times that we work together. I think I saw that in the Great Recession, right, where everybody kind of pulled together and knew they had to make concessions. And obviously, as times get better, we gotta right the ship a little bit. And again, I think that's a credit to our negotiating team with HR, but also our unions that deal with the county. So, and another thing that I think as commissions kind of turn over, I'm just recognize that in all of these there's a wage reopener. I think that sometimes we see that and all, you know, what's going on? And a lot of times, these might have happened on commissions prior to us, and we just didn't have that institutional knowledge of some things that maybe were approved before our time, because as I look here at this dais right now, there are all of us, I believe, that do not have that institutional knowledge of more than 4 or 5 years. So it's important to know that there's always something that maybe happened before us. Any other commissioner comments? All right, if not, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed? That has been approved. All right, I will mark that one off. Next item on our agenda, again, brought to us by the Human Resource Department, labor agreement, amendment to collective bargaining agreements for parks, assistant prosecuting attorneys, and referees. Do I have a motion, please? Motion by Diaz, supported by Pakla. I think I heard Commissioner Diaz's voice first. I don't know. All right. Commissioners, any comments, questions, or concerns? All right, I think it's pretty straightforward. So again, if there's no questions, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed? That has been approved. All right, next item is brought to us by our administrator's office, the 2024 federal and state legislative priorities. Can I have a motion and support, please? Motion by DeBoer, supported by Teal. Any comments, questions, or concerns on this? We've all had this in our packets and our agendas, so hopefully everybody had a chance to read it. Commissioner LeGrand.
Thank you, Chair. I want to say that we do have, I think, a few really important priorities on here, and if we're serious about what our legislative priorities are, we do have to pick and choose so that we're not advocating for anything and everything. Particularly pleased about the statewide sanitary code, doing some things to address PFAS, and particularly funding for state courts, which is a can that's been kicked down the road for many years now, and we really need to solve that. I do just want to take the opportunity to say that I think, you know, in previous years, we've had more opportunity earlier on to address some issues that we would like to see the legislature take up. And that I think in coming years, it would be a good idea for us to do that. I think we don't just need to be an approval on the back end, but that we need to be, we are leaders. We should be leading some of these efforts before they get to us. I particularly think that while we have this bottom line of saying we don't want any unfunded mandates, that can lead us to voting against things that might be actually the right thing to do. So we really need to consider some of those in the future. As I said, I'm happy with some of these priorities, but in the future, I think we need to look at how we're establishing some of them. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner LeGrand. Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. I want to echo Commissioner LeGrand's support of the PFAS. My District 21, Cascade Township, has 3 PFAS identified disaster areas and potentially a 4th one now. So this is really an important issue, not just for Kent County, but statewide. And I really appreciate the county having seen this as a priority, having directed ARPA funds to Cascade Township in the tune of $3 million for remediation. The citizens there who were negatively affected by PFAS, you know, they didn't ask for the problem to happen, it just happened to them. So it is a very, very important issue. And I also wanted to comment about our statement about opposing unfunded mandates. I don't think that unfunded mandates are fair, and anytime I see one, I will certainly be opposed to one, to them.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Bujak. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to echo Commissioner Bujak's comments. My district also has, I don't even know how many PFAS contaminations, even one where the Attorney General is now suing the former owner of the land that used to be used for manufacturing because it is contaminated with PFAS. And my district, as I'm sure a lot of our districts do, still has a lot of lead pipes that are carrying water to our homes and basically poisoning our people. I also, though, wanted to echo Commissioner LeGrand's comments. I mean, we are the Legislative and Human Resources Committee. And, you know, while I really don't see any priorities here that I disagree with, I really do think that we were elected to be the voice for our constituents and to add priorities that we feel need to be addressed and that should be prioritized. And so, I mean, while I do see here a section on addressing environmental contamination challenges, PFAS, statewide sanitary code, there is nothing in here about holding the people who are contaminating our land and our environment accountable, which is currently an issue at the state level. We have a lot of community members here talking about the childcare. There's nothing in here about childcare. We have a housing crisis in our county, a need for 35,000 housing units by 2027, and there's nothing in here about housing. And so while I see the little section that says that legislative priorities are limited to direct, immediate, and significant impact on county operations and services, there is a section in here under ensure long-term fiscal stability for local government that says support legislation to shift the homestead tax exception for disabled veterans to a state income tax credit to preserve the integrity of local tax revenues. Again, I'm not opposed to that necessarily, but if we're going to be saying what our priorities are in order to stabilize and support the local tax revenues of our county, I think there's a number of different priorities or legislative or bills that we could support that would stabilize our county's budget, that would make our tax revenues more equitable. And so with that being said, you know, I'm not going to be making a motion to amend this today. I will be voting no, not because I oppose any of the items in here, but because I do think that, again, it is our job. We were elected to look over these documents, to give input as to what our priorities should be, and I don't think that we have given that opportunity. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to bring up a quick point under the issues to watch. Bullet point number 3 talks about the MACT standards, and we have a lot of swirl going around right now at the federal level around the impact to those MACT standards from the Environmental Protection Agency and the waste energy facility. I want to express some appreciation for our legislative staff and coordination around that issue. I know it's a potentially hugely impactful issue for our county, so appreciate that piece.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Pakla. Anyone else? I just wanted to note Commissioner Hennessy is not here. One of her requests was the direct care workers' wage increase issues to watch, so that was added on there. So again, I appreciate her comment on that, but just wanted to make note with her not here that that has been added at the request of Commissioner Hennessy. All right. See no other questions. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed? All right, we have all yeses and 1 no. All right, our next item on our agenda brought to us by our administrator's office on our FOIA policy. So this will go to the board next week, Thursday, the 22nd. Do I have a motion and support? Motion by Teal, supported by LeGrand. Thank you. I'm not always looking each direction, so kind of want to make sure I get everybody's. So, Jenny, can you give us a little information on the FOIA policy, please?
I believe Linda is best able to do that.
We've had a FOIA policy in place for many, many years. The FOIA statute is obviously in place at both the state and the federal level. What this policy does is just update our current policy. It allows Sangita goes to my office to be our FOIA coordinator countywide. It gets it off Al's desk. Sangita is the expert on it. She gave me some numbers yesterday just to give you an idea of how many requests we get in, and it's over 7,000 a year. And that does not include requests from other law enforcement partners, which total several thousand a year right there. So we've got a staff that's in all of our departments. We have coordinators in every department. They do an excellent, excellent job in responding to these requests in a timely manner. And so this is just simply an update to our policy because it hadn't been reviewed in a few years.
Thank you very much. I think it's important to to understand how much staff's time and energy goes into FOIA requests and how many requests we have each year. It's something that, again, we hear about a couple different times a year, but for folks sitting out there, it's important to know that time and resources go in a lot of directions that we have to send them into by law. So, all right, Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a quick question on the last sentence of Section 3A. I was curious that we explicitly called out the fact that elected offices may have their own FOIA coordinator. I was curious how many offices do have that in place.
You know what, I'm going to ask Sangita to do that because she coordinates with all the other coordinators, but I think almost every office has somebody that handles it.
Good morning, Commissioner. Sangita Ghosh, Assistant Corporate Counsel. I've been doing this role of a FOIA coordinator for a very long time as part of the Corporate Counsel's office. We serve both the board FOIA requests as well as the administrators and county-wide. The county has a total of 56 staff currently assisting with FOIA obligations. There are 24 FOIA liaisons or coordinators of each department. Each of the elected offices, the sheriff's office, prosecutor's office, drain commission, and the clerk and the treasurer, all of them have an assigned FOIA coordinator. It is up to the elected officer to select employee to act on their behalf.
All right.
Just one follow-up on that. We have 56 that help in it. It's not 56 full-time.
Any other commissioners' comments or questions? All right, seeing no one, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, that has been passed and will be brought to the full board on the 22nd. Our next item on the agenda, again, brought to us by the Administrator's Office, our codification policy. Can I have a motion and support, please? Commissioner LeGrand with motion, support by Bujak. Commissioners, any comments, questions, or concerns? I think it's the first time I've seen the codification policy going before the commission. So, Commissioner Bujak.
Yeah, and I did want to comment on that. When I saw this on the agenda, I was like, codification, what does that mean? So, of course, I went out on the internet to look up the word codification to educate myself as to what this is. And it's certainly a legal term, and I appreciate legal being behind this and providing us this resolution. So,
If I may, to both the chair's comment and otherwise, this has been on our books since 1997. This isn't new. It's not legal making up legal stuff. But it does give you some comfort in how policies are made. They're going to come to this board, the board as a whole. They're not just going to be made up by staff.
That's what some people think. Any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor, please say yes. 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 All those opposed, that has been approved. All right, we're up to Commissioner Miscellaneous. Any Commissioner Miscellaneous? Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank the citizens that came in this morning and took time out from their busy schedules to share with us their view on the Ready by 5 issue that will eventually be coming to us. I think the commissioners that came before us saw the wisdom in putting this millage before us, and I would not be opposed to a renewal of that. And I just want to let you know, thank you for being here and sharing your thoughts with us.
All right, I have both Commissioners Pakla. We'll go there first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll echo Commissioner Bujak's appreciation for our Together West Michigan colleagues here this morning. And although we removed the Ready by 5 millage, I think we heard how timely and appropriate this conversation is to our community. We've taken steps to support the economic development opportunities that come from the amphitheater and the soccer stadium, but we'd be doing our community a tremendous disservice if we didn't listen to our constituents and the experts about the opportunity to not just renew, but to increase the services that we provide to our early childhood education systems. I made comment during that initial conversation about the soccer stadium and the amphitheater, and I'll say it here again, but I have a really hard time thinking about increasing the excise tax if we don't also think about how to improve our early childhood education systems, should we be given that ability. If we can't consider improving the early childhood education system, that system will, not just could, but will actually have a bigger economic impact to our community than anything that we could do in the downtown corridor. I do wonder, and this is maybe a question for county staff, if we have other examples in the county other than the 2018 request for Ready by 5, where a group of experts and fiduciaries have come to us with a millage request and the county board has ignored that request of the experts and decided on a different amount for the millage that would go to the voters. How often have we decided not just whether or not we would take something to the voters, but what we would take to the voters? I do think it's also noteworthy that the resolution is not just renewing, it's also expanding services. We do call that an unfunded mandate in the education policy space. This happened in the No Child Left Behind Act of 2001, where we asked K-12 systems to increase testing requirements and ELA and math education. The result is an entire generation of students that didn't have the kinds of services that they needed in social studies and science. So I hope we don't make that mistake. Education policy also often runs afoul of two perils. The first is that education policy takes time to impact, and the second is that there's lots of experts on education. I hope that we don't make those two mistakes. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner Pakla. Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Chair. So I think a lot of my colleagues know that I'm currently a student at GVSU. I'm a senior there. I'll be graduating in April. And in my capstone class, we have been having a lot of conversations recently about the fact that GVSU, and I think a number of public universities, are essentially lowering their standards for acceptance. And in the words of my professor, accepting anybody that applies. And the reason for that is that the pandemic has affected our society and our youngest neighbors and community members more than probably anybody else. Unfortunately, the people who are graduating high school now, who graduated high school in the past couple of years, already have been impacted by that, and so the Ready by 5 millage won't help them. But it will help the next generation. And so I'll echo the comments by Commissioner Bujek and Commissioner Pakla. I myself was disappointed to see that the millage was not on today's agenda because my main question was where is the discrepancy between the Housing Next, what is the organization that's managing the
First Steps Kent.
First Steps Kent made a recommendation to increase the millage to 0.45, and somehow the subcommittee from the county rejected that request and requested a flat renewal. And I'm trying to figure out where that discrepancy is coming from, where that disagreement is coming from. And so hopefully when this does come before us, we'll be able to get answers to that, because I was invited to the annual meeting from the Grand Rapids Chamber of Commerce, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago now. And their expert that they brought on, which I believe was also a professor at GVSU, mentioned that we are in a very uncertain period as far as our economy at the moment. The savings that people had saved during the pandemic are gone at this point. Inflation is still rising. Wages, according to some experts, are outpacing inflation. But I think when to consider the fact that inflation was 9%, 7% last year, people are falling further and further behind every year. And they made it clear that in order to maintain the prospects of our local economy, the two top things that we could focus on are housing and childcare. And so, again, I'm thankful to the community members who showed up today. I hope that they all and that more will show up at this next committee meeting when we consider the millage and at the full board meeting. Because if we're not listening to the experts and if we're not listening to our constituents, the community members, then I'm not sure what we are doing. Thank you.
All right. Any other commissioners? Commissioner DeBoer.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to also thank the residents for coming. And me personally, I just want to share a little of my personal experience of my child care, just because I wanted to share that I can sympathize, I can empathize. In 2019, well, I have 3 kids, and I've definitely had to drop my children off with people I kind of considered a stranger as well. In 2019, I had a caregiver at the time, and she left my children alone at a pool without any adult. And so in 2019, I quit my corporate job and I decided to stay home with my children because I did not have adequate childcare. And so I just wanted to share that I can empathize, and I thank you guys for coming. I may not agree with you all philosophically of the government's role in childcare, but I just wanted to know that I get it, I get the struggle, and I also homeschool my children, so I mean, there's a lot of responsibility on my husband and myself. So I just wanted to share, thank you for coming, thank you for sharing your experiences.
Any other commissioner comments, questions? If not, this meeting is adjourned.